So I just finished making a big mess out of the driveway. What happens basically is here where we're at, we don't get consistent snow. So we had that big snowstorm recently. And now the temperatures are cold and we have rain off and on. So what happens is it'll rain a little bit, the snow starts to melt a tiny bit, and then it gets cold and it clears off and it ices over. And our driveway becomes about a 2-inch thick slab of ice. So that doesn't melt out unless I bust it up. So I used to just bust up right around the porch with a breaking bar, but this year I used the tractor to kind of bust up the areas where we're pulling in and out with the cars, just because walking to and from the cars has become quite treacherous. And then all of the area right around the porch is also really treacherous because it's just a sheet of ice. So I went ahead and busted up a bunch of the driveway, mostly again just the path from like to and from the cars from the front door and right around the porch, so that we can come and go without almost breaking a leg. So a lot of the snow has melted off, but now it's just remains the yucky, dirty, yucky looking snow. But since I've busted up all of this ice, that should melt off now. So I think what we'll do is we're going to focus on this area behind me and directly in front of me. And this area is our entryway. Our front door is right to my right here. Also, you can see our laundry area is right behind me. So this area kind of serves as an entryway / laundry area. Anybody who's been following the channel for a while knows that our house is very small. It's less than 800 square feet. So all of our areas have to double as more than one space. So for that reason, our entryway is also our laundry area. So anyway, because it is our entryway, I try to keep this area really tidy. However, it is needing a really big refresh. So what we're going to do today is we're going to tie up some loose ends. When we came through and did trim work in this, we kind of did it in stages as we were getting the house done. So the trim work is all done. However, the finish work for it needs to be completed. So right here to my right under the window, there is a piece of baseboard that has not been caulked. It has been painted with a coat of paint, but it needs to be repainted once I get it all caulked and finished off. Right below this mirror, you can't see it, but right down there is where we feed our cats, and there's a piece of baseboard there also that's been painted and put up, but it needs to be caulked, and then the paint needs to be redone or touched up. And then unfortunately I have to go inside of that little cupboard area right there, because that piece of baseboard right there also needs to be caulked and painted. So I think what we're gonna do is, I have a few things that are kind of prep work for some of the work that needs to be done here, but also I'm trying to take into account timing. I only have a few hours to work on this project today. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab a mop bucket with some cleaning solution and then also some microfiber rags. I'm going to wipe down these areas, and then I'm going to go ahead and get those caulked first. That way the caulking can start drying while we do a little bit of prep work on the paint, and I will explain that in a little bit, but let's get started with that. This area right here, this is just as you step in the front door, and for a really long time we had a chest freezer sitting here, just a really small little chest freezer. The problem with that though is the cats would use it like as a catalyst to sit up here and look out the window, but they were also very abusive to this whole window area. So they would get it all muddy, and now that we've put blinds up there, we kind of wanted to kind of keep them away from that area as much as possible. So we went ahead and moved the chest freezer to a different location. But after we moved this, I realized that this trim piece here needed to have some completion work done on it. And frankly, this whole area could use a little bit of a refresh. So we're gonna do a cleanup on this. Then we're going to caulk the baseboard. And once that's dry, then we can go ahead and do a painting touch up, probably on the windowsill. You can kind of see right here the cats have scratched it some right there, and just overall it needs a little bit of a refresh. So we will go ahead and get that done. The fact of the matter is that we've been in this house for 5 years. The normal wear and tear on a house, still takes place. And so, after a few years, you're looking at just normal wear and tear of needing to touch up the paint on baseboards and you know, on trim work, and you know, doing some caulking where you may have had some caulking that shrank and split, that just normal wear and tear that a house goes through. And while we're not completely done with the house, the projects that are left are a little bit larger, and they require Robert's help with those. They're not something that I can 100% tackle on my own. So in the meantime, when he's working and he's not able to be here working on those projects, there are other things that I can get done. And so that's really why I kind of want to do this January refresh. This entry area is the first thing you see when you walk into our house. So let's wanted to take a few hours today and just tackle some of these projects to get this area re-spruced up, refreshed, looking nice. So I think what we're needing to do is clean out this window track also. Our windows do get super dirty here. We have a ton of bugs because we live in the middle of nowhere. And when you're the only light, you're like a beacon out in the darkness, and all the bugs in the summer just come to the house. So we're gonna go ahead and address this one while we are working on this area. We might as well just really pay attention to all the detail and get this really nice. So I'm gonna grab a brush and the vacuum, and we'll kind of loosen up the dirt that's in there and get that cleaned out a little bit better. I'm gonna turn on the vacuum. Are you going outside? Huh? You hate the vacuum. Are you gonna go outside? This is the way that I've found to be the easiest for cleaning out window tracks. I find that if I use just like a wet towel or something, if it doesn't pick it up, and then if you try to vacuum it, then it's wet, and it doesn't work as well as this. So what I do is I basically take just like kind of a stiff bristle brush, and I just loosen up any dirt or grime or dead bugs that are in the track there, and then I just vacuum as I go. And I found that this has been the best way for cleaning out window tracks. It's much quicker than anything else that I've tried. So I mean, you could even use like an old toothbrush or something would probably work, but anyway, yeah, this is what I find to be the easiest.
This is a good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life.
It's not just the inside track that's going to be dirty, it's also going to be when we open the windows. So I don't want to do a job halfway because then it's not really done. So let's go ahead and get this cleaned up too. So our window track is all nice and tidy. This has been wiped down. It is ready for caulking and another coat of paint. Let's go get the caulking gun. Like I said, we're going to do the caulking first so that can start drying while we go get our paint supplies from the pump house and up at the pole barn. Right here we have a little bit of splitting in the caulking. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll hit that with caulking too when I'm doing this area.
The roads that lay open are many when the old one's gone under the knife, and I can feel the sun on my skin beginning to fall from within. Tomorrow, there's no time to borrow. Today is a good day to live.
What are you doing? Don't put your face on that. No. I went ahead and I caulked underneath this piece of trim right here. Nobody's ever gonna see it unless you're literally laying on the floor in my entryway, which is just not gonna happen. But the thing is that spiders might know it's there. And I don't want to give a home for spiders. So I went ahead and caulked that little under piece also. So this area is all done. The window track is all cleaned out. We've got the caulking touched up. Underneath the windowsill there, the caulking is done. And then also the baseboard and all the way around the side of this door jamb, the door trim. So I'm not gonna mess with that area over there. As you can see, we still need to do the painting on the cabinets. I'm just gonna leave that as is for now, because that's not an area that we're gonna focus on. That will be coming up soon, but not today. So let's go ahead and move on to, I think I wanna do the part that I don't wanna do the most. I'm gonna do that first because that's how I like to operate. So I'm gonna go under this little cubby here and we're gonna work in there. So we'll go in there, we'll get that cleaned up, and we'll get that piece of baseboard caulked and ready to go for painting.
This morning I was a clear light as any to see the horizon in the far.
That area is done. Let's move on to this area.
But they've all gone out the window, I lay scar. And when I feel the wind on my face, all that is.
So one thing that I'm noticing while I'm working in this area is that this piece of trim work right here, that hasn't actually been painted and caulked. We do, typically when we do trim, we do paint it and then we put it up. That way when we're coming back, we only have to fill nail holes. So it has a couple coats of paint on it, but what I need to do is I need to caulk this seam here, and then I also need to fill the nail holes so that we can hit that with paint. And it's all the same paint color in this area. So it just makes sense, since we're working in this area, let's just get this all done at once.
I lose my breath whenever I see you. You stole my heart, what is it that you do?
That is already looking 1,000 times better, and we haven't even painted it yet. So now what I think we need to do is go up and get the paint. So the problem with the paint is that it's getting a little bit old, and I think what happened is it got left in the pole barn when it was really hot outside, and so the paint that's kind of like up on the sides of the 5-gallon bucket dried, and some of it's kind of flaked into the bucket, which then makes flaky, like lumpy paint. I think what I might do is bring it in and I'm going to strain out the lumps, because I still want to use that paint. It's still good otherwise, and I don't want it to go to waste. So I'm going to strain out the lumps using just like a little wire mesh, like colander thing, and then we'll just strain it into a different container because there's not a lot left of it. The project that I'm working on today will probably use up the rest of it, and I may end up having to go buy more. So let's go ahead and go get that though. And yes, it still looks like this out here. So we keep the paint in the pump house because, one, I don't want it in the house. The house is really small. We have a limited amount of space there. But we don't want to just keep it up in the pole barn, because in the summer it gets too hot and in the winter it freezes. So the pump house is somewhat temperature controlled. We do have a heater in there so that everything doesn't freeze. So we like to keep it there, but that means that I have to go to the pump house now, and it's kind of treacherous getting there. As you can see, clearly we're melting off a little bit. So we just have this problem every spring, winter, as the snow and the rain comes and goes. We get a huge melt off, and there's so much water coming off of this hillside that it all kind of runs down the hillside and kind of erodes this area. So we're trying to figure out what to do about that, because it seems like no matter where we put a ditch or a French drain, we still seem to have this issue. So it's hard to target exactly where this water is coming from because there's so many seeps and springs on this property, but somehow we've got to get this area right here under control, because there's a lot of erosion that happens right here, and it tends to wash away a lot of the topsoil, and then it just ends up really rocky here and dusty, and we're not being able to grow grass very well here or mow it for that matter, so it just gets really weedy. So anyway, that is a whole other project, a whole other problem, but I wanted to show you what we're dealing with right now. In the aftermath of the beautiful snow, we have this situation to deal with. Why are you in the middle of the mud? What are you doing? Oh boy. I think this is the bucket we need. Okay, I think because this is separated a little bit, we should stir it first. I couldn't find a stir stick, so I'm just using this piece of kindling. I did vacuum it off though, so that there's not any like sawdust or anything in it contributing to the problem. I'm not sure what to strain this into because I don't keep a lot of just like random containers around unless there's something that I use for like storing food and stuff in. But I have this like water jug thing, so I think what I'll do is I'll clip the top off of this and dry it out, make sure it's dry, and then I'll strain into this. I I'd be lying if I said I wasn't the tiniest bit nervous about this. I'm really hoping I don't end up just dumping all this paint down my sink. That would be very bad because all of my paint would be gone. And I'm pretty sure that's not good for my septic system either. So the only way we know if this is going to work is if we try it though. So let's do it. So as you can see though, what I'm dealing with when I'm trying to paint is we've got these chunks of paint in here, and that is making it very difficult to get a nice clean smooth paint job. I'm going to go ahead and scrape these pieces of paint out and we'll just throw them away, and then I'll rinse out this colander. Okay, so I just checked in this area where we first started. The caulking is all nice and dry. So let's go ahead and get this painted.
My life was great till you added colors.
Typically I don't paintbrush walls, but I'm not going to go ahead and pull out a roller just for this little tiny area because everything else that needs painted is all like baseboard and trim. I think it'll be fine to hit it with the paintbrush. It really only has like one coat on it, so it could actually use like a really good thick coat of paint. Being right here next to the door, it does take a lot of abuse, so I'm just going to go ahead and do just like a light paintbrush coating on it. You can't be back there. Go hide somewhere else. There's lots of other spots in the house you can hide. Go hide somewhere else. Go on. Anyway, the cats are playing chase and slash hide and seek, and so they've been running. When I was painting over there, they kept running over into this cubby and hiding. But now that I'm working here, I need them to not do that because I need it to dry without them getting into it and then all over everything else. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this area for the next little bit.
I just wanna love you, just wanna hold you, just wanna be with you till we grow old. Please tell me you'll stay or take me away. I want you for myself every single day.
Well, that'll do it for today. We've got all of this area tidied up. So when you walk in the front door, everything is bright, clean, fresh, finished, which is exactly what I was wanting. So anyway, I think what we'll do next time is we'll tackle these shelves. This is where we have a lot of our food storage, so baking supplies, dried goods, that kind of thing. And as is the case with any space, it eventually gets kind of overrun with other stuff. So I do have like my painting stuff right down here that I've been using today. But as you can see, that shelf never got painted. The other shelves are kind of yellowed. They really need, there's a lot of bleed through from the plywood. They really need another coat. The baskets need to be gone through and gotten rid of anything that it's expired, and basically just like do some vacuuming and cleaning. So probably what we'll do is we'll tackle that area another day, and that'll completely finish this little entryway slash laundry area. Anyway, that was kind of a fun project. I'm super happy to be able to check that off the list. We have all that trim work finished. That's really exciting. Everything is bright and fresh and pretty. Thank you so much for joining me today on this project. It was a really fun one. I'm glad to have this done. I appreciate you guys so much for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Take care, and we will see you soon.
I don't know what I'd do without you.